My name's Dr. Mcayla Sarno. I'm a licensed psychotherapist, a brain training expert, E.M.D.R specialist. My mission, my message is helping people to get unstuck, to wake up. So the topic today is about defiance and power. Everybody's wanting power, to be powerful, to embrace their power. And one of the strongest traits is the trait of defiance. I think when we grow up, or we kind of get this negative idea about what defiance is. And hey, London, cool. And we see it, I think, sometimes as a negative trait, you know, when we hear about a defiant child or a defiant person. But defiant is really can be a very positive and empowering trait. And what inspired me to jump on this morning was I've been listening to Leah Remini's I hope that's how you pronounce her last name, her audiobook. She was on the King of Queens, and I think, hey Des, 1972, she was on the King of Queens, and she's an actress, and she wrote a book, and I should probably know the name of it, and I'm listening to it on audio, Leah Remini, and yeah, and I think she's awesome, and she goes into her life and Scientology and how she joined into the church and her story, her family, and wow, Sweden's here too. That's awesome. And thanks for joining, Alice. And she goes into this, into her story, and it's really amazing because she talks about all the constructs of Scientology and gives her own personal opinions and feedback about what that experience was like. And I suggest you get it on audio if you're interested in reading it or hearing it, because she's actually reading it herself, and which makes it so much more interesting. And she's a great read. She's very blunt, and so if that's not something you want to hear, she tends to speak her mind, but she's herself, and I love that. And she talks a lot about her experience with being in Scientology, and then how she left Scientology. And she goes into a lot of constructs that I often, talk about, which is challenging what you know, challenging, investigating things, and why that is so important. When people are looking for power, it's like, define power. Power over people or self-empowered. And one of the ways to really become self-empowered, to find your power, is to embrace that trait of being defiant. And I think for a lot of people, it's very difficult because no one likes to stand out from a crowd and be the one that is going to challenge the going census. And this is really what she did, and what she shares in her story with Scientology is, this was for many, many years, and she was in the church since she was a young kid, since she was a little girl. And she really had to become a voice and speak up, and there was a lot of consequences to that for her. But that's how we grow, for sure. It is. And one of the reasons why people don't do this, and in terms of standing up and being the one to stand out, to speak up, is because of the phenomenon of groupthink. You stand up, which was really what happened with her. If you stand up against any organization or people or your friends or your family or any organization that you belong to, you're going to experience that phenomenon where you're the only one. And even though other people agree with you or would hold the same beliefs as you, they back down, and they don't back you up. They don't have your back. And I think we tend to question ourselves when that happens, that it must be me, I'm wrong, I shouldn't have said anything, maybe I'm not seeing things the way that should be. But that's just groupthink. And groupthink happens all the time. Groupthink is what happened with Leah in her church. It's what happens when we stand up with any group that we're in. And people don't want to stand up and be that person that, whether it's you that's speaking out or backing up the person speaking out, because then everyone's going to look at them and they don't want to draw that attention to them. They don't want to cause a ripple. and that's why groupthink happens. But when you feel like you're the only one, when you when you feel like the only one, like Leah, she was really defiant, and I can really relate to a lot of that. And if you don't challenge what you know, it's very much like brainwashing, which she shares a lot. And that's kind of what I got from her story with Scientology, is when you would speak up, that you would go through this rigorous process of now recanting or focusing on something else, your part in it. But it was very much a brainwashing. And we all really get brainwashed in a sense. I was brainwashed in a sense, because when you're criticized, when you're judged, when you're questioned, you're in a sense brainwashed, because if you're believing in the lies, if you're starting to now take this criticism, this feedback, and now you're taking it and you're starting to now recant yourself and question yourself, it's a sort of brainwashing that happens. And it's something that we always want to be aware of, that if you have your own ideas, you have your own opinion, speak up, be defiant, because yes, there's always a consequence. For her, she was lucky because her family and I guess if some of her friends really stood by her, but she lost a lot of people in her life by going against and speaking up for what she believed in. But I believe that, my philosophy is be yourself, be who you are, and then see who's left standing. Because the people that are left standing are the people you want in your life anyway. They're authentic, and you can always be yourself. Just see who's left standing. You'll be amazed at who's left in your life. And the people that aren't are the people that you don't want in your life, but you want to be willing to stand out in a crowd. But that's what power is. So if you're looking for your power, self-empowerment is the most amazing power you can have. But you've got to be willing to risk changing the people in your life, changing out those people in your life, things changing in your life. You've got to be willing to accept those consequences. But it's worth it, because in the end, that self-empowerment, that's how you become a leader. People will follow, listen to those that are willing to take that risk, because they're not. But everyone needs their own leader. Everybody needs a mentor. Everybody needs somebody to listen to follow. So if that's somebody you want to be, you got to embrace the defiant part of yourself and see it as a positive. So I guess that's really all I wanted to share this morning. I think it's a great read. I know a lot of my friends are reading it. I think as a result, kind of like what I was talking about, Leah will probably have she'll have continued success as a result of stepping out, being herself, because I didn't even know her half as much as an actress prior to this, but now I love her to death, and I'm sure a lot of other people do too. And I love that defiant part about her. It's very, very inspiring. You want to be defiant against the thoughts that you have in your head, all those things you believe. You want to challenge all those negative beliefs that you hold. Challenge yourself. You want to be defiant against anybody. Be defiant against that part of yourself that's always reminding you about your limitations. And that's about it. So happy Friday. Find your power. Love the defiant part of yourself. And I guess that's it for today.